Sarah, I was one of the ones that was part of the original proposal for the athletic fields, and some of the stuff you were commenting on was correct, some of it was not correct, but it was on purpose. But I think the main thing that I haven't seen from this project, and something that I talked about that day, is the focus beyond the athletic fields. Unfortunately, if you walk the Grove at this point in time, how we're actually letting kids in that area is ridiculous. It's a lawsuit waiting to happen. There's trees that are going to come down. It is not a safe area. I have 4 children, specifically when I'm there, keep them away from that area. There's trees around the park that are still not safe. If you walk around, they're marked. They're already marked to come down because they're not safe when we're having kids play underneath it. I think the focus of what this town needs, or would be a nice addition to what the town should have, is an area for the community. And a lot of what I talked about when we met that day is Fairway Muse, and in the sense of what we could provide maybe on these fields to attract the community, where you're getting all ages to come to that park on a regular basis, not adding any lights during daytime hours. Whether it's a gazebo where, 6 o'clock on a spring night there's somebody playing a guitar and then people are picnicking around it, or picnic tables, or having shuffleboard tables, or having a focus. So I like, some of what I heard about Fletcher Park to start that attraction and continue to expand on. The fact is, at this point in time, change is occurring in that Grove, period. It's not safe. It's not an area at this point in time that is sustainable. And once the next 45 trees come down, there's going to be a realization there's another 50 trees, and then there's going to be very minimal left. So I do not support eliminating the Grove completely, but it is somewhat of a start over. We don't have a choice at this point in time. When one more storm comes through, it's just going to get worse. The gentleman that was the architect, I think he stated it right, is that you got to start from ground level up, and you got to analyze what's there at this point in time. So if you don't analyze what's there, all this project and whatever infighting, whatever might occur, it's a waste of time, because you don't actually know what you can even do there yet. Whether it's a focus of an all-purpose field, a softball field, or just grass area, like the young gentleman talked about earlier, of keeping it a park. Whatever the focus is, something needs to change at this point in time. And part of that is changing what the Grove has been. And an architect, a landscape architect, probably the best person to get advice on how to restore that as quick as possible. Eric, you brought up a few times, and by the way, I'm a school board member, so I apologize, I should say that for full disclosure. Lining the outside of the border of the field, of the whole park. The fact is that does not solve the problem with the lights, but it's the fastest way to start to dampen some of the noise. I mean, you can build leaning cypresses; they grow 10 feet a year. There's options that you have that can start to solve that faster. But any way you look at it, it's a 20-year project. So eliminating a lot of what's there, it's going to happen not by choice. So if you're proactive about it, and you take the next step to say, okay, what can we restore properly to enhance growth? Because right now, you plant something there, it won't grow because of what's still there. It's going to dominate it. Any kind of basic landscaping, if something is bigger and pulling all the water, it's not going to allow the growth of the new plants and or trees. So to take another step without having at least a better focus on what is able to be done there, the root system, what's underneath there, the dirt that you're dealing with is underneath there, and the drainage. Joe, when we met, I mean, you had a big concern on the back of the field that there would still be drainage issues. The back of this field would be still drainage issues.
Little League field?
Yeah, no, not the Little League field, but that new softball field, you had concerns of flooding back in that area also. So, or maybe that would be a basin where we can drain to. So,
Any field we build, we have to drain.
right. So that's another loss of buffer of yardage that may or may not be able to exist. So, so I just encourage the board, the council, Chris, your team, just do it right. I'm always in favor of improving where we are. I'm in favor of improving all aspects of the community. But until you get more answers, I just think these designs are great. I still think there could be a better focus on the whole community there. And I think that the walking paths and the tracks and that, I think that's a great start, because that brings the people from Fairway Views over, people from the apartments over to walk and spend time together. But there still should be more focus on picnic areas and community areas to spend time there. Because we don't have, as much as we have areas, people don't picnic at the school. You know, people don't, they're not, it's not a park that you would hang out with. And I'm full in favor of the council and the school working together to improve those fields, because basically our gym teacher refuses to even play in the field anymore. They're in that bad condition. So there's issues, there are major issues there that we can use some help with. And a lot of that's through funding, and we are taking some steps to improve those, and we're more than willing to come up with changes. But you know, Sean talked about it earlier, scheduling is a huge issue. It's a huge issue with the school. I've talked about it a number of times that there should be a website, there should be some way, because I reserve fields for my teams that I coach, and I show up and there's other people there, and they say, well, I had to reserve it. That is a major focus from town to the schools across the board, and I don't know if that's something that can be turned over to the town as part of the committee. But you can't get, and if you build these fields, everybody's gonna want to practice there at once. You know, and if that's not scheduled and organized, that's a problem also. So there's a lot of steps to take to this. I would just encourage more of a community feel of everything you provide. And I don't think you're possibly increasing cost much by focusing on the community. And then, you know, the field may make sense in the end also. I mean, I'm a supporter of the field, but I just think you gotta start ground up. Okay.
Thank you. Yes.
Hello, my name is Pam DeSalvo. I live at 32 Wickham Road. I've lived here since 1978. My kids went to Little League, on that Little League field, and then my grandson plays on that Little League field. It's not just a Little League field. It's a recreation complex. Kids go there to play every night, on Saturdays. We need to fix it, whatever we do, whether it's option 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. It needs to be fixed. Our kids go there. That's what makes this town so wonderful. That's why I love living here. So I'm so glad that my grandson lives here now and is going to the school and playing Little League there. We need to put, it sounds so negative in here. It's giving me agita. It does. We have to forget everything and just think about our kids. And that's why I moved down here from Newark, New Jersey, and came to this great town. And it's such a great feeling. I don't care, personally, I'm sorry, I don't care about, you know, real estate and all of that kind of stuff. Yes, someday I want to sell my house and make money, but I want my kids to be happy. That's more important to me. And the feeling, and trust me, I ran the Shack and the Little League for 5 years. I know what scheduling is like, it's impossible. But you do it with your heart, not with your head. You do it because you love your town, you love your kids. You love all the kids that play there. The front field, where my grandson plays most of the time, is dangerous. There are holes. Someday, it's going to cost a lot more when someone falls and hurts themselves on that field or in that death trap of a back. Put that all aside. And someone spoke about Little Silver. Yes, they have beautiful fields, but their taxes are also $15,000 to $20,000 a year for a house like we have. So our taxes are nowhere near that. We live in a great town. Let's just put that first. Let's be happy about where we live and make this a beautiful place. And this is beautiful. So we'll have this. We'll have a nice Little League complex. Ocean Road would be nice, but you can't park on Ocean Road. And the parking there is very small. Yeah, I don't like the parking on Allaire Road either, but it's the lesser of the two evils, whatever you want to say. And the Shack is there, and I know that because I ran that too. They eat there, breakfast, lunch, dinner. Kids get snacks there. It's a great old town place. So put all that negative aside. Let's just get something really great for our town, our community, our kids, and let's work together to make it happen. I'll do anything. Anybody needs any help, I'll help. Do fundraisers. Let's raise money. You know, the Little League pays for a lot of what goes on there, and that's why people like to go there. I go there and I watch the games, and I see the families together, the little kids playing in the swings, which was my next question. When is that going to get worked on?
As I mentioned
Because
earlier,
that mud under those swings is disgusting.
the project that has been awarded includes a replacement of the swings, improved drainage of the playground area, as well as the replacement of the top lots. That has been awarded. It is currently being scheduled. You will see activities there and at Ocean Road through the summer.
Not Ocean Road, Allaire.
At both.
When?
It comes this summer.
Okay, because that is terrible. So it's a great place, please, don't make it all so negative. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else like to speak? No one else? Everyone? Would anyone like? I'm sorry.
Sorry.
It's okay. Take it now.
Okay. I love what Mrs. Salvo had to say. Our kids are the root of our community.
Our school is wonderful.
And our kids take so much pride in our town. And we love going to the field as families, and it is such a danger. Easter egg hunt, my kid comes home with poison ivy all over. It's like, Easter egg hunt, you kidding me? And it is dangerous, and we're in fear of our kids going in there and getting ticks, and we're checking them every day after Little League. It's just, it's crazy. And I love trees. I love the grove. I think it was beautiful, but the cost of rebuilding it, and it's just too much. I love the idea of the fields. I love keeping our kids safe.
Yes.
I'm sorry?
The cost of the field would be.
Hold on, excuse me.
But we don't know that yet.
One at a time.
I'm sorry, I'm just saying in general. There is a lot of problems that kids have these days, and I'm not saying having fields will solve that. I have 8-year-old twins. I'm scared for when they're teenagers. Heroin, everything, it's just a tough time. I think that sports keep kids out of trouble. I think it helps keep them out of trouble. I think a good town and support system keeps them out of trouble. So I would like to see something proactive and something to keep our kids happy and safe and all that. So that's all.
Mayor, may I ask, personally identify yourself for the record?
Just state your name and your
Oh, I'm
address.
sorry. Marion, still 820 Pitney Drive.
Anyone else like to speak? Before you speak, you can come up. Miss Councilwoman Cindy has a question.
I just want to ask, this is the first time hearing about the fact that there might be a safety issue in that area. I mean, I know the trees have been down, but there might be an actual safety issue. Is that true? I mean, should we be fencing off that area and?
We're all aware that you can remove trees from the road, and that there are trees there that we haven't removed yet.
But is it an actual safety? Is there something that can fall on a child? Should we be putting yellow construction fencing around the area? I mean, construction companies fence off
Mayor,
areas.
if I,
Every part we want, but still about $0.09.
Mayor, if I may address that. Certainly, any trees that have been identified that require replacement, or removal, will be removed. Based on the report that we've received, there are no trees that are of imminent danger that require closing the park.
Okay.
But we would confirm that with our, the tree inspection.
Well, that would allay some of the fears of the residents as well. Thanks. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Maureen Carroll. I live at 808 Allaire Road, not too distant from the park. And listening to what's going on here tonight, it seems that a lot of people are not sure where the spaces are that are available. So maybe our landscape architect is correct that it would be in our best interest in the long run before spending money on fields and major improvements to have an expert come and analyze what we have and how much it will cost for these various ideas. I haven't heard money spoken tonight, a projected cost, accurate projected costs, but I have heard a couple of, a lot of money to dig out, and it's like playing a gambling game. What's going to be underneath the pine needles? How can you commit yourself to spending hundreds of thousands of dollars when you don't know what's there? Before anyone makes a major step, they investigate. They spend money to have people analyze what you have and how are you going to use it. So people are saying here, I don't know, this field, that field, the other field, why isn't there an analysis of what we have, what are our restrictions, and how the best way to use it is. And a landscape architect or somebody who's an expert in the field should be called in. If you're going to have a project that's going to cost $1 million, I think $10,000 or $20,000 is a legitimate price to pay to have an accurate analysis of the land, of the property, the soil, what's the drainage, what's this, what's that. So you have to spend money to get the data that's accurate. You don't have the data here. That's my analysis from listening to you. What's the data? What do you have? You have opinion, that's it. The kids, yes, the kids do need a place to play. They do need a safe place to play. I moved here 10 years ago, and I am not going to mention the name of the person I called. My son used to get poison ivy every year. He lost a day because the nurse couldn't analyze what the rash was. I knew what the rash was. The rash was poison ivy. He gets it every year because he was playing in that place. So I called up the town. I'm not mentioning names. The answer I got was, well, that poison ivy has been there for 60 years when I used to play. Boy, what an answer. Wow. The poison ivy has been there for 60 years, ladies and gentlemen. So that makes it good. I'm sorry, yes, I heard that with these ears. From this town, the guy you pay probably $60,000 or $70,000 for to fix this town. So everybody does their best. I know that everybody's interested in what? Everybody's interested in the kids. I am too. But let's get some accurate information before you commit. And thank God you have to vote on this. Because after you decide what you really want to do, and it's going to cost $1.5 million, the people here have to vote on it, hopefully. All right, this looks good. This looks good. And the lady is right, you really do have to fix that place up. Yeah, ticks, yeah, poison ivy, yeah, but you know the poison ivy story. So that's all I have to say. Good luck, and spend the money to have the analysis meeting.
May I just to answer or perhaps address part of that question? Frankly, I think that that's part of the process that we're starting here. Because the first thing that if we engage a professional, first question they ask is, what do you want? And part of really what came out of the discussions at the working group were various options. And before we move forward and start to spend money to find out costs or to spend money on 4 or 5 different options, the question is, can we narrow it down? Can we eliminate 1, 2, or 3 of the options? Maybe we'll get very lucky and we'll walk out of here tonight with everybody saying option blank is the one that we should move forward on. I'm not quite that hopeful, but I'm optimistic.
This community, if the whole community, do you want a football field there? Did you ask these people?
I think that's what we're doing here tonight.
Yeah, well, this is not Spring Lake Heights. These are the people who came at 7 o'clock at night, who are willing to spend the time between 7 and 9 to listen to this. Now you gotta go and ask the people in this community, do you want to spend $1.5 million to do this?
Thank you. Eric Gardner, 77 Mission Road. I just want to thank Mayor and Council for hosting this meeting tonight. And Chris, I just want to echo Mayor's comments earlier about your leadership in pulling this committee together, running the meetings. I think it was very productive and positive and constructive, and I think that was thanks for your leadership. And we've gotten this conversation started now. And in just a short time, come a long way, relatively speaking. Now, are we there? Obviously, we're not. But I think it's clear we are to a point where everybody acknowledges that something needs to be done. Doing nothing is just not an option. So I think the council is really charged with trying to figure out how to leverage the traction that we now have, voiced by the community, to say something needs to happen, and figure out what the next steps are, and take them, and keep this thing moving quickly. I hope this doesn't stall, and then a year and a half from now, we're still talking, and then a year and a half from now, to the point where like nothing happens 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road. I just think that would be a shame, because I think right now we have a lot of interested, passionate people in the community who are willing to get involved and try to make this what it should be. Because what it is now is definitely not representative of what this town is about and means to so many people here. Just a couple of quick points that I think are important just to clarify. Recreation is expanding, it's not contracting, it's not declining. I've been on the Little League board for 5 years. Our numbers have held firm. Recreation is 80% participation in our community right now. Little League is 85% participation in our community right now. There are hundreds of kids that do both. So I think that's important to note, because I think I heard earlier that it's declining. It's not. They're both holding firm and expanding. We want to expand more, but we just need the facilities to do so. So I just wanted to make that point. Also, I agree with Mr. Salvo about the negativity. I think you would want to point that out. I do have to say, I think, and whoever's part of the committee, the meetings actually were, I felt at least, were very positive and constructive. They weren't what this sort of started out like tonight. And all the things that we sort of talked about, we talked about in these meetings. We talked about adding walkways and paths for everyone to use. And we talked about what is this going to mean to all of the neighbors that buffer this park. We talked through those things. We talked preliminarily through some cost, issues that we may have or come across. We talked about the potential of sharing, services with the school. We talked about Ocean Road. We talked about all of these things that came up tonight that it sort of feels like aren't being talked about here, but we did. And one thing too, Mary, you and I had a conversation about it, and it wasn't discussed here tonight, but I think it feels like one of the important things about this grove is the history behind it. And one of the things we had a conversation about was embracing that history and trying to figure out a way to bring it back so that, and I don't know who mentioned it earlier, but the park used to be called something else. Well, none of our kids know that. I don't know that. We don't know that. None of our kids know that. I think whoever that gentleman was kind of stumped everybody here. So let's bring that history back. History of the grove. When was it planted? Why was it planted? Why is it important? Right? The smell of the pines, I've heard a lot about. It's not what it was. Probably won't ever will be what it was.
Back to original state.
No way. But let's try to at least remember what that was. And even if it becomes, and I think one thing that's important too between 3, and again, these were all preliminary conversations. Bring something forward. This could completely change. Something needs to happen. But the one thing that I liked between 3 and 4 was, right now on 4, the north side of that grove, it simply doesn't look like that. I don't know if you have a slide that shows what it actually looks like, but it's just gone. It doesn't look anything like that. It's not a grove. And so, but what's important here, I think, is that currently, this section here, on 4, this is probably the healthiest. I'm kind of speculating, but at least initially, it looks like it's the healthiest section, the tallest section. So if you're gonna hold on to and embrace and try to bring forward the history of the grove, that section to me seems like the most important piece. And option 4 kind of takes that away. Behind that, it's obliterated. It's trash. It's just not what it was. But that section there is a really important section that I think, if you were to do something similar to option 3, you're saving that. And as you make your way through this park, from Fletcher, around the paths, into the section here behind right field, it's 20% of what that shows right there. And what we talked about doing was restoring that. And what we talked about doing was restoring everything on the outside of the fence, around the perimeter, but also like right in that area there. There's just like called a 100-foot by 60-foot swath that seems to be healthy right on the south section right there. But beyond that, it needs to be restored. So we were talking about restoring that, restoring the perimeter, restoring right field. So you're making your way from Fletcher, all the way through Fletcher, right field, picnic tables, exercise stations. You can have anything you want back to this area for everyone to use. Make your way all the way around the perimeter back. The loop could be a couple of miles for anybody to walk their dogs or jog or do whatever. And all of these things could be enjoyed and shared by the community as a whole. So I think it's important just to reinforce that the conversations we had coming out of the committee, at least my take was, and I may have been the only one, were very positive, very constructive, very holistic to try to think about and include everybody, including the people who wanted the football field. And I personally like all of the ideas.
We should stop calling it a football field because it would not be only a football field. It's a multi-purpose use field.
Thank you.
So I don't have to take my kids to Wall and to Neptune to play soccer and lacrosse when we have beautiful open spaces in this town.
Right. No, and that's a good point, because ultimately I said that Little League is not declining and rec is expanding.
I'm
but
paying into other people's recreation programs.
Soccer is declining because they're going elsewhere because we don't have
We go to Wall.
That's true.
Right.
Or we go to Neptune.
Lacrosse, we don't have.
We go to Shark
We wanted-
River to play
Sean was-
lacrosse,
We were
or we
talking
go to
about
Wall.
trying to bring lacrosse into our rec program. They're going to Shark River lacrosse because we don't have a program. So the areas where it's declining is because we simply just don't have the resources, or the facilities. I think it's just, I think it's important to know that it started off very negative, but generally speaking, it was a very positive conversation. And I think, again, just going back to my original point, I think you guys the council is charged with trying to make sure that we don't lose traction here. And I don't know what the next step is. Maybe it's the landscape architect, I'm not sure, but something needs to be done. So, thank you.
I'm Heather Nolanton and I'm Walker. I love the way that we're kind of ending with what Eric's message was. And I also really love what Mrs. Casalva had to say, because this was one of the most oppressive, negative things that I've sat through in a really long time. It shouldn't have to be that way. And I also would like to point out that there are not a lot of other people in this room that have small children because they're home with their children, because maybe their other spouses at work. So there may seem like there's not a lot of broad-based interest in a multi-use field or a softball field or any of these more recreational, children-oriented things. I think there is. I think they're just not in this room because they're not able to be right now. So that's, I personally would love to protect the integrity of whatever can be protected in the Grove, and I had imagined 40, 50 years ago it was a beautiful, beautiful place, and the reality of it is it's not that right now. So how can we bring us to the next level and keep everybody happy, and the light pollution and the noise, and I get it, but I think that we need to find a way to move forward, that's all.
Thank you.
You can speak, but I didn't, no, okay, good. Well, I've heard from some of the residents here, in all due respect, I heard from 3 or 4 of the residents that they said this is a negative meeting. You don't know what negative is.
You should have read the rating.
That's why I don't see it.
I feel that this was if it was negative, I would apologize to everyone in here. Don't come one of our meetings when you want to see some negativity.
I couldn't agree more with you, so I certainly don't want to end this evening on a negative note, that's why I have to get up. I think most of the residents that live nearby are pleased to have a field, but does it have to be that field? I mean, there are other options, so that's the job of the committee to explore. And I think everybody came to the same conclusion that We don't make a decision now, we have to do a lot of work, a lot of research, and bring us back together again to discuss it, but I don't feel the negativity.
Okay.
I just wanted to mention, if you go back into the meeting minutes from 2008, 2009, when the committee accepted the original proposal for Fletcher, you will find in that resolution that the council also agreed to look into doing a combination soccer lacrosse field at Ocean Road Park, because at the time, Peter Avakian was the borough engineer, and he went in and measured it off, and he said, you might have to cock it at an odd angle because of the ball field, but you could put one in there. That was never pursued, but it is in that resolution.
Virginia Upton, 91 Walnut Drive. This evening I heard this woman who just came up to the microphone say that we're paying for maintenance of Ocean Road Park, and people from out of town are coming in and using it and they're not. Is that a fact?
Other people use it.
May I address it? To clarify the point, yes, it's a borough-owned facility, and therefore we maintain it. At one point, there were Green Acres funds utilized to develop that site, which makes it a park that's open to all residents of the state. That doesn't mean, as I think it's been mentioned, that we have not lost the ability to regulate or schedule its use. And I am not aware of any instances where it's not available for use by the community or our residents. But it is open to residents regardless of where, to all people regardless of their residence.
All right, she said that we had the right to schedule and regulate it.
Yes.
Is that correct? And are we doing that for our children?
I'm not aware that there's any conflict at Ocean Road Park. Actually, let me clarify. The only conflict that I'm aware of at Ocean Road Park is the use of the tennis courts, which are very popular. And there is a regular difficulty of scheduling the use there because unlike Allaire Road Park, the Robertson Park, which is not open to all residents for tennis, the Ocean Road facility is.
All right, well, the conversation tonight is about baseball and softball and football. And are our children using Ocean Road Park for that?
I'm not aware of the specifics of the the sports leagues, but I see there is a gentleman there that may have more information on that.
As far as Ocean Road Park, I've had trouble scheduling baseball practices there because the field is utilized by St. Catherine's girls team after school. So, you know, when their season's on, we can't get our Little League teams over there to practice.
It's kind of first come, first served, I believe. When we had the issue a few years back, somebody wanted a county resident, and it's anybody in the county, because of open space fund. Anybody in the county can use that park, and there has to be some kind of, honestly, it's a very underutilized field, with the exception of St. Catherine's. Softball. I think one time we had a family that wanted to use it for a wedding, and they were getting a wedding, they wanted to have a softball game there.
So are the children in St. Catherine's all from Spring Lake High?
It's, if they reserve it, they get, the
All right, and who do they reserve it with? Us?
They reserve it with the town, yes.
With us? Okay, so it sounds to me, and I'm just hearing this tonight, that we have the option of scheduling and regulating it for our children and giving them first crack at it, and we're not doing that, and yet we're paying to maintain it? Is that, am I?
And as I said, other than the instance that Mr. Thurman has mentioned, I'm unaware of any issues with the scheduling of the Ocean Road ball field.
I've never heard of any. St. Catherine's does it right after school, around 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
And who is using it the rest of the time?
Anybody that walks on it.
So why not us?
Well, you can, you wanna use it?
And why not our children?
You have to ask the coach of the team. I'm not sure. Whoever coaches those particular teams, why they don't.
They would need to.
They would have to, they would have to schedule.
I see. Okay, thank you. Thank you for clarifying.
Point of order.
Yeah.
I've already seen two people up there who were up there, you know, this is their second time up, I want my shot. Because a couple things, like, you know, when you interview,
Time to go. Good night.
hit the dirt all the way along the road. Couple things bumped my head, and I'm glad I saw Bob walk up here, because my daughter said to me, Daddy, did they use professional plan? I said, honey, I don't know, but I will ask that question. Okay, now, I've seen in the, you know, in the Coast Guard, naturally, I've always learned you don't believe everything or anything you read in the newspaper. Somebody, it said something in the Coast Guard with a picture of this about flooding. Well, surprisingly, one morning I wake up and I look at the Fletcher property, and you wouldn't believe where the flooding was. It was out by a lair room next to my property. So I said to my wife, call a realtor up, let's sell the house, we got waterfront property. It was gone in 2 days. Probably the problem is somebody should test the soil, because I know around my house, and I know in one spot on Fletcher's property, go down 3 feet, guess what you get? You don't get gold, you get clay. So there must be a lot of clay over there in that neighborhood, you know? I don't think anybody knew that before. And the other thing I want to say is where the barn was. On the far end of the barn, all the, you know, when it was a farm and Mr. Fletcher had all his grass cutting in there, I wouldn't doubt that there's pollution in there. So somebody can check that out, you know? So that's all I got, and thanks. And I hope people don't think I'm negative, because usually I am.
We're very positive tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Panico. Thank you, council. Remember, we got a little election tomorrow.
If no one else has anything to say, I would like to close the public comment section at this time, unless someone has something final to say. No? Yeah, I would like to
And you were
close.
right. I was last, and I was first. So the first don't come last, and the last don't come first.
And I want to thank,
Good
I want
night.
to thank everybody too for coming and giving their comments. Thank you very much. We as a council, or as a council, have to decide whether we're going to move forward with any of these plans. We're going to move forward with, I know there's a big thing you see around the state now, or around the shore anyway, restore the shore.
I talked to you, right?
We have to decide whether we want to restore the grove, go back to some type of original condition it was in. Maybe not so much with the trees there, but other types of trees. And my good friend Jay, he's a good friend of mine, I may disagree with him about it. It may take 40, 50 years. I'm sure there's some fast-growing trees around we can find to go in there. I hate to disagree with Jay on that. But as a council, we gotta decide if we're going to restore it, or we wanna look into one of these options that came across tonight, or anything from the audience that was given to us tonight.
Well, maybe, I mean, the residents raised a lot of issues. Why don't we bring a professional planner in, spend some money, and have them look at the feasibility of these options, what it would cost to put a field back there, what it would cost to restore the grove, what it would... Let's get all the,
Look at all of the assets.
plan it out. Let's plan it out. Let's get a professional planner in here and spend some money and get this done the right way.
I don't think you should just stick with LR Park. You should be looking at Ocean Park at the same time, whether it could be.
That's what the planner
Yeah,
does. I think that's what the planner would do. He would plan.
We have the property next to us, we have the property, Ocean Road, we also have the Allen Road. The last space.
We're a small town, we don't have a lot of open space. That
lot more than you realize.
Mayor, can we direct Jay to start looking for a planner and
Well, I'm gonna hear what the US have to say first.
Well, one of the things I would like to say is that it's always interesting to see what comes out of the mouths of children. And last week, Jimmy Schuler and I had the pleasure of attending Youth Government Day, which was very, very good. I remember when I went to school here, Youth Government Day was a very big deal. As a matter of fact, I was a councilman at Youth Government Day, and ironically, here I am. But they had their planned program, and it was all about the recreation and the parks in town. And the comments were quite interesting because the majority of the comments were about fixing things that were not in good shape. Fixing the tennis courts, fixing the basketball courts, fixing the playgrounds for the younger children, fixing fields that were not in good condition, and upgrading Ocean Road Park. And sitting here tonight, listening to the variety of comments, it wasn't that much different. And, you know, out of the mouths of children sometimes comes exactly what you want to hear. And I find it, yeah, Joe's out there shaking his head. You were here that day, correct? Because the children get to go to the fire company and they get a tour of the police department. Correct, Chief? They were in the police department. And then, of course, they get to come up here and listen to a council meeting. So Jim and I found it very interesting, all that they did have to say. So my opinion is, I think, yes, we need to get someone in here to do an analysis. And I think that we really need to improve a lot that we have already, and then possibly look at going forward from there after we do an analysis and we find out how much money a lot of this is going to cost. Because we have to keep in mind that many of our residents do live here in town, because this is a very good town. We do keep the taxes as low as we possibly can, and we don't spend money in any kind of a frivolous manner. At least we try not to, and many of us here on the existing council have tried that. And let's hope we can continue to do that to yet improve on some of our facilities that we do have in town. Thanks.
Okay. Jim, any final thoughts?
No, Joe, when you did the work up the Ocean Park, cleaning up in the back, did we end up with a nature walk through there?
We're not allowed to, well, we're gonna restore that, the DPW forces, soon. As part of that project, that was not the grant. Our grant was stream corridor period. We utilized the construction methods to make a path that we would utilize as a walking path that was there in 77 installed. We found footbridges, and I don't know if any of the council has been back there.
I've been back there.
It's, that's a pretty neat little area now. Good job. And it's cleared, the whole back end of the park is cleared out now. But, you know, forces and council direction, we will, and I know our administrative plan is to get those paths back and
Way through there.
One of the issues that arose as part of the process of obtaining the required permits to do the stream cleaning, the question came up as at DEP regarding what we had identified as an existing nature trail. And DEP took exception to that, and you know, they looked at some aerial photos, and their interpretation was somewhat different than ours. We clearly were able to identify the nature paths, and as Joe said, utilizing the access for the stream cleaning, as well as what we expect to do very soon some restoration to ensure that we don't lose those nature trails to DEP bureaucracy.
You have to put it that way again?
I was being polite.
And Mayor, if I may add one comment, as part of these meetings, it was generally trying to gather ideas. It wasn't, and I know there's questions about, well, it was a big study. Quite frankly, there's certain places, if we built it for free, people wouldn't know. So we would want to invest dollars on looking at engineering, planning. We kind of want to generalize and get some folks here to focus on that. So with,
Understandable.
that's really, very preliminary.
Tom, any final thoughts?
I just want to say that, yeah, I'm in favor of getting somebody in to look at the properties that we have and what is possible on those properties so that we can get some real world cost estimates, because I think, we're not making any decisions until we realize how much money we have to spend.
Okay,
Yeah.
at least look into someone that could come and give us some advice and maybe a possible cost.
Yes, certainly we'll develop some sort of an RFP for professional services focused on our parks and recreation, what I'll call a mini master plan or something along those lines.
Thanks, Jay. Thank you. And that concludes this, not the meeting, but it concludes the recreation. I believe we do have an agenda item here. We do, yes. A resolution, yes. We have a resolution R 2014-103. This will be the Public Works seasonal employees. I need a motion and a second.
Motion.
I'll make that motion.
Do we have any questions?
This will fill up the quotient of our seasonal employees?
It will.
There will be no more activities.
We anticipate no additional, assuming these all stay with us.
Okay, that's all I wanted.
I just want to comment that this is over, that we have never hired this employees.
That's correct.
And we need it. Have you seen the laws around
It's
here?
for today, and we've already
Maybe they can clean up poison
You
ivy.
know, poison ivy, cut the lawns.
almost doubling our workforce.
Cut the lawns.
Okay.
Mayor, I heard a motion second, ready for a roll?
Yes, I think Jim said.
Mrs. Cynthia?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Tingley?
Yes.
Thank you. This time I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, public, for coming.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.